in this computer. Okay, and it looks like it is recording. Hello and welcome to the March meeting of the Ohio LP Mises Caucus. Just since a lot of people can't make the business meetings, so we're decided to record a section of this one and send it out. Since today we have Michael Sweeny here as a speaker, talking about his new system for petitioning in Ohio, hopefully make things more efficient and effective, and also just generally talk about the petitioning process in Ohio generally, kind of give everyone a heads up of where we are, what's going on, and what the next steps are, so that when someone asks you if a libertarian's on the ballot or what should they do to get us on the ballot, you can answer. So, Mike, if you want to take it away, just give a, I guess, I'll let you give your own intro also. I know that you're currently on the executive committee of Franklin County, but I know you were previously in the state as well.
No, I have actually actively avoided being involved with the LP state level organizations. I find them to be particularly useless. So that's one of the things that it doesn't really help.
Don't worry, a lot of people agree with you there. So if you could just tell me, what is the current rule for Ohio, the Libertarian Party getting on the ballot, and why are we off the ballot?
Sure. So the basics behind the story is that the rules got changed around 2013. The Ohio Assembly got together and said they were unhappy that the Libertarian candidate Charles Earl was making headway in the polls, and they were concerned that we as a party, and that he specifically as a candidate, might challenge the status quo against John Kasich, who is a complete twat. This put them in a quandary because the rules regarding party status were very open and allowed any party, any group of people to come together and create a party and put their candidates on the ballot. Funny story is that really didn't happen very often. In fact, consistently, only the Libertarians and the Green Party did this. So while it was open to pretty much anybody to do, and the barrier was very low, it happened very rarely. There were other parties that have come and gone, the Constitution Party, Natural Law Party, or among others. But the list is short. I've done this research just out of curiosity to see. So the truth is that even when the barrier was low, the actual times that people put that effort into it to create a political party in the state of Ohio and allow candidates to run was rare. So the rules got changed, and this happened very close and early to a primary for Ohio, which basically meant that candidates who had already declared for office were suddenly not allowed to be involved in the open primary that Ohio provides at a state level funded by taxpayers. This was outrageous. The Libertarian Party sued. It took a long time. It dragged out. Eventually we won, but the election already happened. This then forwarded to the governor candidate, Charlie Earl, who petitioned successfully to be put on the ballot and was then challenged by a guileless dupe. Basically, the Republicans found someone who had voted in their primary as a Libertarian at some point, and they convinced him to challenge Charlie Earl's petition, and they got thrown out. This was eventually, thrown on its head, and even went to the Ohio Supreme Court. The thing, the short of that is that we always win in court, but that the elections have already happened, so it doesn't matter.
Can you clarify that a little bit? So you said that the Libertarian Party won in court twice. What does that actually mean? Did the Democrats, Republicans have to pay us a $10 million fine?
No.
Did they? What happens when we win in court?
So what happens when we win in court is that the judge always agreed that we were wrong, that what happened was inappropriate, that it was against the law, and that it should not have happened. It was unconstitutional. Those are the languages that have been used. However, the judges never want to make some sort of compensation or recompense. We never want to make it possible for the past to be compensated. They always say, well, the law is the law. The law has changed. The law is now this. You got wronged, but we don't care. Now we move forward. The law is the law. That's been consistent. And this has been taken all the way to the Ohio Supreme Court.
So they're acting. So they're essentially saying, yes, they broke the law, but we really don't care. It's functionally no different than if they said that they didn't break the law.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, at that level, yes.
Is there any advantage when, like, is there anything we gain from them saying that that they did break the law?
Financially, no, and practically, no. We just have the bragging rights to say that we did win in court. The law was broken. The law was changed. The law was changed and then applied inappropriately. And then later, once it was brought fully. The court decided that, it was too late. The election already happened. We can't go back. And this is one of those things as Americans that we've kind of become used to, and that we need to become more comfortable with challenging. The results of an election are not in concrete, regardless of how we want to feel about them. The most recent election we had, there were some questions about it. People feel very strongly one way or another. It is important that we understand the integrity of the election is more important than the immediacy of the decision. And this is where, as libertarians, we often find ourselves at the wrong side of history, because our opponents control the system and they are able to move the goalposts forward until the game is over and we are declared losers, even though they broke their own rules. So elections are a social agreement, right? We didn't sign a contract. That's the joke we always make. One moment. Yes, William. I love you too, Guy. Hello. This is my son, William. Oh, how you doing? He's got Superman.
Well, he's gonna be YouTube famous now. We have our 0 subscriber count on this channel.
What do you want? 1 second.
All good. So then I'll just talk for a little bit about this, some of the stuff that I know. Kasich changed the laws in Ohio to make it much harder for libertarians to get on the ballot, and from there, Ohio has really struggled to put Libertarian Party on the ballot. I believe that for 2016, they didn't even give us the forms in time for us to get them signed to get Gary Johnson on the ballot. So Gary Johnson ran as an independent. Under Ohio state law, a party needs to have 3% in order to continue as a minor party. Gary Johnson as an independent got above 3%. Also under Ohio state law, if an independent gets over 3%, they are allowed to form a minor party without petitioning. In spite of that, we were not allowed to for literally no reason. They just ignored the law and they said, well, the LP existed before, so you can't reform it, even though it was essentially no reason.
That's an excellent summary, Drake. Yes, because so Gary Johnson ran in Ohio as an independent because the LP was not an official party. The paperwork filed, said as much, and then the Libertarian Party of Ohio filed again to have a party formed under that success. This again went to the Ohio Supreme Court, and the Ohio Supreme Court said because Charlie Earl did not file as a libertarian as a candidate, he was not eligible to then form a party. Justice Williams said this was circuitous reasoning. It was circular logic. You can't do the thing because you couldn't do the thing because you can't do the thing, and it's nonsense. And that's where we stand. So the requirement for minor party status in Ohio is to either gain 3% of an election, presidential or gubernatorial, or get a number of petitioning, which is a number escaping me at the moment, but it's going to be equivalent to 56,000 signatures. Now, given what we know and experience with in Ohio regarding Board of Elections, throwing out signatures. More reasonably, it's going to be 100,000 signatures. So for 2018, the Libertarian Party of Ohio submitted 102,000 signatures, 56,000 of which were accepted as valid by the boards of election across 88 counties.
And my understanding is that the 2018, beyond just the volunteer hours put in, it cost $250,000, something in that range.
Yes, it was thousands. It was thousands of man hours, both in walking in shoe leather, as well as standing on street corners. And then financially, it was about $250,000.
And then of
that
course,
came from the state party and from the national party.
yeah, and then that was obviously with governor race, so not as contentious like in 2018, and then it was also pre-COVID, so now things
Yes,
would be significantly more difficult.
right.
And
So
then,
I can just tell you war stories about walking door to door here in Worthington. It wasn't a big deal. You knock on the door, people would answer, and you say, how you doing today? I'm with the Libertarian Party of Ohio. We're petitioning for ballot access. How do you feel about more choices on the ballot? I did the same thing this past year, 2020, for the John Stewart race in District 15, and I was much more cautious about it. People were very disinterested in answering the door.
I
It was
mean,
a lot harder. Now,
what's the biggest
Paulo,
thing you got thrown at you?
nothing. I was very
Really?
careful about it. Obviously, there's no benefit in putting negativity out there or accidentally fostering that. So you just leave it, right? And what you would see though is like even as I went door to door with a mask on, people would give you the stink eye, like, "What are you doing in my neighborhood?" And I wore what I was wearing was completely not a script, it was the red libertarian shirt that we seen, but when you go door to door, obviously neighbors figure out that you're not from there. But the suspicion obviously is much higher, and the disinterest in getting involved is much higher. Ballot access tends to be one of the more friendly conversations you can have when you go door to door or you're interacting with strangers, whether it be in front of a Bureau of Motor Vehicles or be in front of a library. You used to say, "How you doing today? Are you open to having more choices on the ballot? You just want to see some competition." So many offices end up running unopposed. We would just like to make that opportunity available. And there are way too many partisan races that don't make any sense. State level here and county level, and even city level in Reynoldsburg. Why do you have a partisan race for city council? What does it matter? Well, it's always about control. Like there's a bill up in front of the state assembly to make judge races partisan races, and they may not force it to be the primary, but very much in the general election, they'll be forced to put their political affiliation next to their name on the ballot. And what's interesting about Ohio is that your political affiliation is based on just who you voted for in a primary. You don't actually declare that, and you can't undeclare it either, which is hard. Again, doesn't benefit anybody that isn't already part of the system.
Yeah, no, that is one of the very interesting things is that whoever you vote for in a primary, whatever primary ballot you take, you are not able to change your designation in any way
Right.
until the next election where you vote in a primary. So if you vote in a
2 years later.
Well, I thought that even like if you voted for a primary in 2000 for Bush and didn't
Right.
vote since then, you're still declared Republican.
Right. If you've not voted in an election in 10 years, it just stays with you.
Yep.
Eventually, at some point, the Secretary of State will scrub you and you'll become an unaffiliated. But that sort of depends on, again, who is the Secretary of State, what their political, interests are. So the Republicans have shown historically an interest in scrubbing records and disaffiliating, whereas the Democrats have not been in power in a meaningful way in decades.
Speaking of which, so who fought against case exchange in 2013? Shouldn't the Democrats have been against it if it benefited the Republicans? Or did any
No,
Republicans take a
because
good
it
stand?
doesn't actually benefit the Republicans or the Democrats. It just benefits whoever's currently in power. So in the mid 90s, Ohio had an election where the Democrats actually came close to losing major party status. They actually had an election where they almost had less than standing with 20%, where they would have lost minor park status. Ohio is a very purple state. We're neither really red nor really blue. DeWine is a rhino through and through. When he was in the Senate, he was functionally a Democrat for all his policy purposes. When he ran as for governor against Travis Irvine, he was thoroughly blue. And only when he went to Republican events or Tea Party events did he talk up, I'm doing this or that. But we've seen since that none of his policy positions have been, carried out regarding Republican status. It really is just at this point a shell game of just who's in power and what do I use as a label to get me market share.
So now that we've covered all the general ground rules and then if someone's interested, you can look up more details about how their states are different. We're not going to go too much into that.
Right.
What's the new? What's the change? What can we do better? I know some states are pushing for fully online petitioning, and Ohio does not have that, and I don't believe there are any bills in progress to make that happen. So what are you talking about?
So the opportunity is always to make things smoother and less burdensome. Arizona is a great example. They have a fully online electronic petitioning system where, as a voter, you can register and then digitally sign a petition to make your intent awareness for a candidate or an issue. So you just say, it's very similar, and you might be familiar with wethepeople.gov or change.org. You go to a website, you sign in through a mechanism, and you indicate your intent for an interest or an issue. Originally, We the People was taken very seriously by the Obama administration, and they would automatically bring anything that had more than 10,000 likes to cabinet level or to at least a department level view to decide. And then, rather famously, there was a huge petition that went very well for NASA to build the Death Star. And it got a lot of attention. And obviously, it was as famous as you can get if you're not voting McVoteface. And the Obama administration decided at that point that it had served its purpose, and wethepeople.org or .gov was functionally turned off. Change.org is another organization that is very much trying to push the idea of petitioning and changing the world, but has no teeth, more specifically has no boot leather. There's no one behind Change.org. It's going to go at a local level and actually make those things happen. So you can create a petition to have a local official force them to resign or get a specific flavor of ice cream added to your local non-dairy whipping place of business. But it's not going to go anywhere. No one's going to make that happen at a boot level, right? The idea here is that we create at an Ohio level a hybrid. We take the ideas we've learned work well with social media, and we put them into the real world with the petitioning requirements we have at the state level, actually having to find people, get them to sign, put their address on everything, and then remain in touch. So what we want to do is, and what we're doing and working on now, is to create this hybrid concept, a website that anyone can go to, any Ohio voter can go to, register, pledge to sign the petition, and then then give permission to be contacted at a later time to sign the physical petition. So it's a two-step process. They sign up digitally, they pledge to sign, they give us permission to contact them in the future, and then when a sufficient number of pledges are grouped in a geographical area, volunteers would move to that area, would go into that area, and then collect as many signatures as we can with prior notice. So functionally, the workflow would be someone signs up as a volunteer, Drake, right? Sign up as a volunteer, you sign into your account, you're given an affiliate link, very much like Amazon or Apple or any other affiliate that we're pretty used to by now. You go on your social media and say, I'm so excited about ballot access in Ohio. If you're a eligible Ohio voter, go to this link and pledge to sign. Post the link. People who follow you on social media, Twitter, TwitFace, whatever is currently being allowed online, they follow the link and they go to a page. The page asks for their last name, street address, and county. They fill those out. It then validates against the current Secretary of State records, and presents them with a list. Usually it's going to be one item. Say, is this you? Is this your voter record? They say yes. Then ask them, say, oh, great. Well, I need an email address. I need a phone number. And I need you to check the box that says you pledge to sign. They do. It's then committed to the system for volunteers to follow up. The system automatically in the background then tracks and says, ooh, this person is in a geographic area that's close to another 20 so people, and that makes a lot of sense. Then the system will kick off a series of events that will then notify volunteers within a geographic area to go and collect those signatures. We don't want to send people running all over the state for onesies. We've done this before. We know it's expensive, and we know that it can burn people out. So by the nature of our abilities and GPS, people are saying, and we know with the record, if they've confirmed where they live, we know where they live. So we have a volunteer that lives in Wood County. Well, they're going to be able to collect all the signatures in that county area, and if they've expressed an interest in driving farther, they can go farther. So what this allows us to do is to smooth out the burdens that are always keeping us from moving forward. We allow people to self-identify as ballot access friendly. We allow them to acknowledge that we're going to be in touch with them, and we allow our volunteers to maximize their time in the day, so they're not driving all over collecting signatures from 50 different people. I've been in that position of delivering signs. It's brutal. You get you load your car full of signs, as an example, and you drive for 8 hours putting one sign here and one sign there and one sign there. It's very inefficient. So the idea is to take what we've learned from $250,000 worth of petitioning, thousands of hours of volunteer, time spent, blood, tears, sweat, shoe leather, and we put it into a package that says this is not the best that we can do, because we know from Arizona and other opportunities it can be better. But this is what we're allowed legally, and that's how we make it move forward. We have a form that makes it easy for people to self-identify as ballot access friendly. We make it easy for our volunteers to go and collect those signatures, and then moving forward, once they collect the signatures, we can then allow them to be declared and move forward. The real big benefit here is that the voters self-identify, all right, and self-validate, which is a big deal. When I would stand on stand in front of the Hilliard Library, okay, and you're just waiting for people to walk by and asking them, hey, how you doing today? The question is always, are you a registered voter in the state of Ohio? And people react very specifically, like, wow, whether it be Pride Parade or Franklin County Fair. Ask someone, are you registered to vote in the state of Ohio? It sets off this whirlwind of like responsibility and guilt, and they're like, wow, wait, am I? And then you ask them next, like, oh, you sign my petition for ballot access, because you need to know, are they validated? Okay, are they a valid voter? When we turn in these petitions to the county level boards of election, they look at them with a jaundiced eye. They look at them to disqualify people. There is not an interest to allow more opportunities for elections. They are gatekeepers who have decided that their job is to keep people from being involved.
So actually a question with that, because I know that right now about at least half of all ballots or all petitions are kind of thrown out by them.
Yes.
Would that really improve even if we validated them more? Like, aren't they throwing them out for kind of fake reasons? Like, oh, the signature is too sloppy or something like that. So even if we validate better, will they stop throwing out half them?
Yes. Yes and yes, because we have court precedent on our side, and we have given boards of election at the county level a bloody nose. They know who we are, and they know how seriously we fight. First and simplest thing to do is, once the pledge signer is validated against the records, okay, the Secretary of State, we go and we collect their signature. Those legally and technically, those are two separate situations. Those are two separate things. On the one hand, we are identifying prospects. Okay, this is a lead generation system to be as salesy and specific as possible. All right, to put it in a different reference, you're identifying people who want to buy your product, right? And normally we would send out postcards and flyers or a circular, right? To say, oh, here's our soda or our soap or our thing du jour to sell. In this case, we're selling access to a political system, and it is for sale, right? Because it's just a matter of, again, treasure or time or boot leather that we're putting into it. So yes, we are identifying likely signatures, okay, likely ballot friendly access, and then separately we are getting them to sign. When we get them to sign, and this is part of our training process, we very specifically tell people print your name, print your address, print your county, because court precedent says that it is the intention of the voter and not the loopiness of their signature that the petition is validating, it is recording. And that's where your boards of election get to play subjective reasoning, right? If someone signs their signature on the petition and the board of election compares that to the one that's on file, they can say legally, according to the ORC and the rules, this piece of ink here is significantly or sufficiently or whatever objectively different from this other one. But they're not measuring the intent. They're not even trying to get the intent of the voter. They're just legally following the rules that allow them to throw this out. And they do, and that's by half. So court precedent says that if a voter prints their name, has to be accepted as the intent of that voter, as assumed intent. And I can tell you, Dre, I got a stack of petitions here from the Franklin County where printed names were marked, and that has to be the law. So that's where we get them with their own rules and with the hard fight. Cassandra Fryman is one of the people that helped push that particular court case forward. She's now mayor of Plymouth. She ran for city council. She asked people to sign their names so it was clear of their intent. Her petitions got thrown out, and within a month, there was a court ruling that supported the signature intent. But that's the significant difference regarding training, that we're going to make sure that we drill into people's heads. Don't sign, print your name. It is intent that matters. Don't fall for the loopy.
That is a really weird. That's just weird. I guess that's one of those.
The question goes back again. I've worked retail, all right? I have had people sign their name. I've signed my name in the last 20 years easily. When I worked for Sharper Image in Kansas City, and I used to pride myself on signing my name so that it was legible. And then one day I had to sign things, I'd sign 30 things. And I realized, oh my God, this is a giant waste of my time because it doesn't matter. You have a trust network. It is trusted that I've signed this thing. Do. If trust is broken or suspected, it's not going to break down with the ink on the page. They're going to go working backwards until they find a person to either blame or acknowledge.
So now
we don't have that for ballot. We don't have that for elections in Ohio.
So, but the rule is literally just if your name is printed instead of signed, they have to assume it's a valid signature.
Yes, and that's where it comes in. They clarify. They don't have to assume it's a valid signature. They have to assume that it's a valid intent of the voter for that petition.
That's just nonsense. Okay, so
let's back it up for a second. I'm gonna hear your nonsense. I'm gonna go you one further because, and this is the part that most boards of elections don't actually want to deal with. When they say this signature is not loopy like this signature, they are actually accusing you, the circulator or candidate, depending on who got the petition. They are accusing you of felony fraud.
Yeah.
But they are declining to press charges.
Because they have no evidence.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
When you, again, we literally just went through this with a candidate, where they are saying this signature doesn't match the one on record. They are accusing the circulator of defrauding the state. They're accusing them of election fraud, of forging the signature. That's the accusation. But because the Board of Elections is not an actual court of law, they don't have to prove it. They don't have to make the accusation. they just don't accept it. Just I don't want to do that.
I mean, I guess that's if someone says there's no evidence of election fraud, you now have proof from the state of Ohio of 40,000 incidents of election fraud a year
Yeah,
of his
right.
signatures
Yeah,
alone.
no, it's
That's
crazy high.
weird. Okay.
There is definitely election fraud in Ohio.
Yeah.
There's election fraud at every level across the United States. It doesn't take very much to look for it.
Yeah. It just normally
But
it
it doesn't
happens
take much to find
systematically in
it.
advance.
People don't want to look for it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it happens. But I don't want to get diverted by that too much. I'll ask one last question, then I'll open it up to the floor.
Sure.
So, uh, how far along is this system? Is this system 2 years away from being implemented, or have you been rolled it out 2 months ago and it's been working perfectly, or kind of where is it? And then I guess the other follow-up question would be, what should we do to help?
Yeah. There's two stages to the answer. The bulk of the work is done. Yes, and it's been battle tested. We have run successfully. In the background, we have a strategic investment on a platform that I built over a decade ago called Contact Helper. It's contacthelper.com. We've used this system to do outreach for local campaigns, for statewide campaigns, and even to support the most recent Jorgensen campaign. We have texted and called hundreds of thousands of people, and we've seen success. Not an election won, but we have definitely reached hearts and minds, and that's worthwhile. The battle-tested part of the outreach platform is functional and is working now. The part that is currently in progress and is very close to completion is the actual form that someone would fill out with the last name, street address, and county, and then validate them against the Secretary of State's records. That is 90% complete. There's a little bit of technical tying together, as it were, to make it work so that it can be smooth as we need it to be. This needs to be as low friction as possible. This isn't just them again. Like when you go to a website like change.org, it'll literally prompt you with a Facebook sign. You go to the website and it says, "Do you want to sign in with Facebook?" And you just say yes. And then it's like, great, you just acknowledged your outrage for not having 57 genders on the local bathroom. And yay, not that there's anything wrong with that. But it is entirely frictionless, right? And we need to have that experience. That's what people are used to. In our situation, we do have to ask them for, at the very minimum, for phone number, because we have to be clear, we're going to contact you. I mean, if someone from change.org were to contact me now about a petition I signed like 3 years ago for, better access to well water somewhere, I would be surprised, right? And I might be upset, depending on, how my day, really. So that's the conversation that we're going to be wanting. We want to have, and we want to make clear, we're creating a relationship. This is not a fire and forget, low dignity situation in front of your local, Bureau of Motor Vehicles or in front of the library in their average street corner. We want people to know that as the Libertarian Party, we're going to be contacting them to follow up for our ballot access and even move beyond that when issues have an opportunity to move.
Thank you. And thank you so much for coming out to speak. I'm going to say one last thing, then open it up for questions. So putting on my Mises Caucus strategery hat, some people in the Ohio LP don't like us. I think they don't like us for stupid reasons, and I disagree with their reasons, but they don't. And if there's one thing the Libertarian Party respects, and especially the Ohio one, it is people that do work on ballot access getting these petitions. It's a way to show that we're serious and that we're here to improve the party and not just break things and scream. And not we're here to actually do work and not just cause drama. And I know that's the truth. That's the truth, that we need to show it to other people. And this is something that the party does need done, that us contributing shows to other people how serious we are. So I'm not saying this is the only thing you should be doing, but if you aren't sure what to do to help out the LP, this is one that anyone can do anywhere without infrastructure, that because Michael Sweeney's not set up the infrastructure online, and that will paint you in a good light. So with that said, any of the four of you on here?
And Drake, if you don't mind, I do want to add, and it doesn't require that you wave around any dildos at all.
Perfect. Fresh out. Does anyone from the floor want to ask some questions of Michael about how this works? Or I guess you can ask me questions. I don't know why you would, but if you wanted
I
to,
can actually, while they're thinking about their questions, I can do a screen share with the wireframe that I
yeah,
sent you.
go for it.
Let's see. So we have. I'm gonna click the screen share, and then I'm gonna pick. Oh gosh, I got quite a bit going here. So I'm gonna share this one. So this is the wireframe that I sent to Drake already to let him know
I
that
think
there's
that is a
Oop,
game. If
there you go. You got that?
you're right now, you're sharing a. I think you're sharing your whole desktop screen, and it's not Age
Hold
of
on.
Empires? Is that Risk? I think.
Oh yeah, Risk. I must have picked the wrong one. 1 second. Stop
No problem.
share. That's Risk somewhere in the background. 1 second. Oh, I picked the right one. Got a
Hang on.
busy back. I got a busy
I'll throw
screen.
in a
Oh wow,
plug for the
see
Mises
all of
Caucus
them.
party on the 20th. We will have board games, but I do not own Risk. So if you want to play your
I
neocon war games, you got to bring it yourself.
Yeah, this particular Risk I have is actually a map of Middle Earth.
Hmm.
Oh, it's not here. Hold on.
Wondering how many points what's the tower that Saruman had?
Oh, you got me there.
Yeah, I was wondering how many points the tower was worth. It should be a lot. Sorry, too nerdy even for libertarians.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is. I
Did
got used to Google Hang. I got used to Google Meet, and presented it a little different. I've got so many windows open right now. One second.
if you hit share screen, you should be able to actually just click screen itself and like share the whole screen instead of a specific window.
I don't know. I tried that, and it didn't like it.
Then try
Oh,
it
here we go.
again and you can grab stuff over
1 second.
or just close things like crazy also works. Oh, yep, it is up now.
You got it.
Yep.
Okay, so the core concept is to be as simple as possible. This is a wireframe. It's designed to present a minimal visual in order to focus on functionality and change if as needed. So the idea here is that we would have this is the homepage. It's the Petition Pledge website. It is active. You can go there at petitionpledge.org, and you're going to run into again, very simple wireframe website. You can sign in with Google or as an email, and you're going to see there's a very simple task manager in the background that I'm working on. The idea is we have the pledge to sign. We can have people sign up to volunteer, and they can donate. Those are the core functionality. We can go into the menu. We have the opportunity for a store that will allow people to buy as a donation, buy T-shirts, bumper stickers, or buttons. They can all sign in. They can contact us, or they can go to the About page. For pledge to sign, this is the muscle of the system. This is the functionality that will benefit and move us forward. And this is a big deal because it's not something that we're currently doing. This is where we bridge reality between the benefits and speed of social media, right? The Twitter storm and the old school shoe leather, heavy duty, actually getting people to sign pen and paper. Somebody comes to the page, they fill in their last name, their street name, and their county. It then checks automatically against the Secretary of State's records. It says, which one of these voters are you? Click it, say, this is you. They say, how do we keep in touch? We get their phone number required. We get their email required. We have an explanation on why, saying, hey, listen, at some point, we're going to come out and we're going to collect this signature from you. We need to be in touch. So the system would automatically, again, geographically determine. We have like 20 or so people in an area. That's worthwhile for gas and shoe leather. So we send an email the day before saying, hey, we're going to be in your area tomorrow. Then in the morning, the system will automatically send a text saying a volunteer will be in your area, today to collect signature. Please keep this in mind. And then the volunteer will have an opportunity on their own home handheld phone to signal when they're in the area to send another text saying, we're nearby. Please be ready to have your signature collected. They pledge to sign. Says fantastic. We'll be in touch. That's it. Low friction. We want to keep them engaged and involved. As things move on, you may reach out to them again in the future. So the system wants to be as easy as possible. Bam, they fill out 3 fields. It automatically validates them against the voter record. We get their information to keep in touch. We explain why this is required, and then the system automatically takes over from there and then coordinates volunteers who have self-identified in different geographic areas. The rest of the website is your standard boilerplate. We have people who can sign in to volunteer, make themselves available. They'll be able to sign in with email, with Google or Facebook. You'll be able to have a contact us form, again, already there, saying, hey, I don't really want to get involved right now, but I'll keep in touch.
Okay.
They can make donations for ballot access. All donations will currently go to Franklin County Libertarians. And then we have some aspirational stuff about, learn about Petition Pledge, learn about the conversation we just had about historically why we're always being boned over. It's a hamster wheel. It's on purpose. They want to keep us off guard so we can't gain momentum. And then, of course, opportunity for a store and a dashboard where volunteers will be able to sign in and see the success that they've helped create. So when they share their affiliate link, it'll then keep track of who comes through that link to sign up. And then also the other side, how many people, how many pledges actually become signatures, how many of those signatures become validated, and move on to become worthwhile. We know from experience that a lot of the signatures we collect, we're going to make sure that they're worthwhile. And so when people sign up, there's always a numbers game. In e-commerce, it's about 4%. About 4% of the people optimistically will convert, all right, into buyers, into people that actually buy a product from you. So that's what we need to see here. So for 1,000 people, right, we want 40 signups to become 40. 1,000 pledges to become 40 actual signatures. We know for a fact here in Ohio there are at least 70,000 fairly determined libertarians from the Irvine campaign and the Jorgensen campaign within the last 4 years. We know that they're there. We know they're determined because they keep voting for us. We have to give them an opportunity to self-identify. And we're hoping that this is a way to make that as easy as possible, as low friction as possible, and to move this forward so that we're not stuck on the hamster wheel. So we're not spending our money and time, our wealth and our shoe leather, satisfying the ridiculous requirements of Democrats and Republicans, or Republicrats. And this is it. This is the basics of it. It's 90%. It's 90% built. It's function. And as we learn more, and if there's need, we can adapt and we can make it change. And that's the benefit.
Okay. I do want to make sure we have some time, so I'll throw any questions from the floor. Anyone ask away. You're allowed any question except if tacos or sandwiches.
Well, that would just be an ignorant question because we know tacos are not sandwiches. But I just wanted to chime in real quick here because I like to say it anytime this conversation comes up is that I'm all about going out there, putting boots on the ground to help with the petition signups. So I just want to say that out there to anybody that wants to hear it. So when it comes to that point in time, I'd love to help out.
Thank you.
Brian, Tom, Josh, anything else you want to know? Any part that was confusing? Any other, or you can just share your thoughts?
Yeah, no real thoughts on the subject. Nice presentation and very ambitious. I hope it does pan out.
Right. Yeah, there's no I've literally gone door to door. I don't hold the record for Ohio signatures. I think Red Pass does. Him or Johnny Miller, they're up in the 500s. I definitely had well over 300 signatures. So I know firsthand how much time it takes, and you get rained on, and it sucks. I've been campaign manager for 2 campaigns at a local and congressional level, and again, you go door to door. So there is no lack of experience in knowing how brutal this is, though how stacked against us it is. But I've also seen amazing things, and I'll share with you the real experience that inspired me to keep moving and to keep pushing for this. At the beginning of this lockdown, epidemic, pandemic, COVID, paranoid hysteria that we've all lived through for the past year. It's been a year. The state of Michigan and Gretchen Whitmer were just savage, right? They were turning everything off. They were telling stores they couldn't sell this, they couldn't sell that. They were literally saying you couldn't buy like flowers or greens for your plants for your garden. And there was a group called Stand Up Michigan that were outraged by this, and they had a Facebook group. And the Facebook group went from a few members to over 500,000 members within a week. And then they got shut down, turned off. And then they created a new group called something slightly different. And then they turned on their brains. And the group, Stand Up Michigan, collected over 500,000 signatures in 60 days. They got donations from businesses and private individuals. They created boxes, packets for petitioners with clear instructions and clear petitioning guidelines. And then they validated them all. And they have challenged the 1942 law that Whitmer used that had since had to acknowledge was baseless. So for the period of 60 to 90 days, the state of Michigan was entirely lawless, all right? They were operating under an unconstitutional law that had already been struck down, but that the governor just decided not to acknowledge. And because of the petitioning efforts, they were forced to back up. They ended up going through different ways. It's still horrible, Michigan. But I saw real people, coordinated well, working together, accomplish an impossible feat. 500 signatures in 60 days. It took the Libertarian Party of Ohio 18 months and $250,000 to collect 102,000 signatures. I have no interest in spending my time, health, or wealth on that kind of project, all right? But 6 months to a year is a reasonable time frame. And if they can do it in 2 months, I think we can do it in 6 as well. And the opportunity here is to leverage what people have already gotten used to. We're used to the internet by now. People that thought it was a fad a year ago or last said, oh, I'll never order something online. I would never order Taco Bell to my house. Now it's secondhand, it's second nature. So to approach someone online and say, pledge to sign, we'll come to your house, just like Uber or, like Grubhub. They're already used to that. We just take advantage of it. We just benefit from it and leverage it and say, we're going to be in touch. And we grow the party.
Thank you. So any other final questions? If not, just one last chance.
I've got one actually.
Yep.
Do we have any talking points or things because I can almost guarantee you just by watching my coworkers, about 3/4 of the population is going back to bed because there's no big elections until 4 years in their mind.
Yeah.
How exactly do you keep people interested in ballot access now rather than having to wait until there's an election they care about?
So the big two ones with that would be, one, the nice thing is it's just ballot access. It's not actually voting for someone. They don't have to do anything. Literally, all they have to do is you put a piece of paper in front of them and they sign it. That's all you're asking. Yep. It's a really small ask, and it won't get their favorite politician kicked out of office. And if you need an issue to energize right now, like Ohio has probably the worst Republicans in the country on COVID. And it has some of the worst Democrats in the country on stuff like marijuana.
Right.
So like there's always something that you can push on and be like, hey, let's not even say we want to kick out your people, but wouldn't you like them to be better? Wouldn't you like the Republicans to have some competition on lockdowns? Democrats have some competition on police reform and marijuana, just to make them better. But overall, I'd say the main push is ballot access is a really small ask, and with this system, it should be even easier and smaller.
Right. And Brian, one of the benefits that we have is that even just here in Ohio, we have experienced volunteers. I mean, I've got a sales background. I currently make a living doing web development. I build websites that build websites. But I know firsthand feel, felt, found, and repositioning and all those things. And it comes naturally. Those are things we're going to write down. I did not go door to door and talk with thousands of people without paying attention to what sets of words made the most success. Which sets of words were, enabled like frictionless involvement. I worked for Apple. I was on the phone doing support, all right, 2.5 years, and with chat. And one of the things that I kept paying attention to was, how do you say things in such a way that you're constantly moving the conversation forward, all right, but you're not making people feel like they're not involved. So you say, like Drake said, perfect example. This is a low friction, this is a low ask. But at the same time, you want to reassure people, this is not a commitment from you. We're just in the opportunity to put more horses in the race. We want the people in your community to feel able to run, and to have the opportunity to be on the ballot. There are so many people that are intimidated. They don't want to run as a Republican. They don't want the baggage of being a Democrat. They can run as a Libertarian. And those races, those tend to be, they can be a mess. And what we know from experience, even if you just see it as like, and I don't see it this way, I don't mean to frame it this way, but it can be seen as a, protest vote, right? The dreaded protest vote. What we know from experience is that even just having another party in the race, literally and politically, can push candidates in a direction. All right. There are things that Frank LaRose would never have done had Dustin Nana not been in the race, pushing those things. Okay. And while DeWine is in COVID land, we know that there were things that were done during the campaign in order to try and neutralize or combat what Travis Irvine is talking about. And we can identify those things. So at a local level, at a state level, running as a candidate and being able to talk, we will have scripts that we know are successful. And we have people who have done this in a way that when we receive feedback, so that the landscape changes, COVID land or that land, we will update those scripts and keep you informed so that we're all successful. And this isn't just even locally. We can brag on Ohio and our wonderful volunteers. But, and as Drake knows, and even pulling from the Mises Caucus, I have purposely created a network of national volunteers so that we know as things change, as things evolve, we get lots of different perspectives so that we're always keeping one step ahead or just that half step ahead so that people feel like they're going where we want them to go. We need to go. They're not being left behind.
Then I guess the other thing with that is because we are also having volunteers sign up, we will now also have a way to track those people and send out information when we get more stuff that we didn't previously.
Right.
Tom, I saw you unmuted, so I assume you had a question. If so, I will have you ask it, and I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. It's getting late in the weekday.
Well, I missed the beginning of this because Drew sent me the invite when you guys had already started.
All good.
Are we targeting like certain individuals or groups initially, so it's more of a coordinated effort, or is this simply like a cold call kind of project where I'm just reaching out to people I know, people in my neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I guess the nice thing with the website is it used to be that you had to set those targets and kind of work through them because reaching out to people was a lot of effort. Now that it's just a website, it's literally as much effort as sending a message on Facebook, sending a tweet, whatever kind of like however you get websites out there. So every single libertarian in Ohio should post this on every social media they have as step one. And then step two, reach out to the people that you personally know and think you're better at. Like if you are the person that goes well with Republicans, reach out to them. If you are a left libertarian who has a bunch of socialist friends that also like hate the duopoly, reach out to them. Just like to get more, like to have someone in there that's anti-war and like another option. So this is something that the goal is to reduce the cost so much that we can just target everyone. Because right now, like you're saying, like we have to have a bunch of volunteers spend all day at Pride Parade to get maybe 100 signatures. And now
300.
we can just blast it out. Oh yeah, I couldn't remember. I was there in 2016.
I was there. Twice.
Yeah.
Pride is one of our most successful events.
Yeah, I got a lot whenever I was there because everyone else was on the parade and I was stuck there by myself.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, I mean, an answer, I can tell you, Tom, specifically Franklin County has already approved a budget to send out postcards to the 3,000 plus voters who self-identified as libertarian in the most recent primary that was originally scheduled for March and was unlawfully canceled and then rescheduled by the Ohio Assembly to April. Zing. And that's just to let them know, hey, we're doing ballot access. Go to this website and sign up. And then from there, we will then see how well the postcard campaign goes and move forward with likely a follow-up letter and then other contacts. Franklin County has also been studious about collecting voter phone numbers so that we can call them directly and then as appropriate text as well. And then branching out from Franklin County as makes sense for our volunteer opportunities. We'll be working with other counties, either with affiliates at the county level or individuals if affiliate has not yet identified themselves. So, and then as other opportunities come up, whether it be billboards or shopping cart advertisement, we will work with whatever makes sense. I would love to see some really good video ads. I was literally just laughing with Travis Irvine about doing a video ad in the as I'm mocking a big pharma, right? Saying, hey, are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? I'm ready for ballot access. See if ballot access is good for you. It might bring back your freedoms. Ballot access might give you symptoms such as giddiness, fun with life, enjoying yourself, fishing without a license, and doing fun things like that. Ballot access is good for you. Check with your friends, family, and neighbors. Ballot access. We're ready. So we can be creative, and we have a group and resources that are they just need time, money, and again, enthusiasm to move it forward.
So last ask, any other questions? Anyone that did not get to speak yet? Otherwise, okay. Then, so this has been the March business meeting of the Libertarian Party Mises Caucus of Ohio. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, reach out to us. Our email is misescaucusohio@gmail.com. It is spelled exactly how it sounds. No surprises there. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and here's to freedom.
Great.
Let's see.
Thanks, Greg.